Assalamu Alaikum everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the best pharmaceutical companies out there. One that I own in this portfolio, one that has done absolutely amazing for me in the last couple of years. It pays a nice dividend, the business is growing and so on. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do with this company, because I've been kind of looking at it recently thinking, what am I going to do with this company moving forward? So I'm going to share with you, first of all, what the company does. Then we're going to talk about the financials, what the pipeline looks like. And then I'm going to give you my own, view of what I would like to do moving forward with this company. But before we do that, as always, please, help the channel by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on the Patreon account, where you get access to all the buys and sells that I make normally, all the stock watch lists. You get access to the ETF trackers, you got access to the private Discord where a lot of brothers are sharing good practices and so on. It will cost you about 15p per day, and of course it will help the channel, inshallah, moving forward. That will be appreciated. Let's now get started and look at this company. And the company we're talking about today is Merck. Merck has been one of my I've been holding this company for quite some time. I think over 3+ years so far, and I'm going to show you the return for that at the end of the video. As you can see, for the 1 year, it's up about almost 11%. A year to date is up to 19%. Last 6 months, about 27%. It has a forward PE right now of 15, and as you can see, Wall Street and Seeking Alpha analysts are actually saying it's a buy so far. For the 1 month, it's up about 3.5%. For the 1 week, about 2.7%. And of course, today the market is just open, so it's up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over some of the earnings that they've reported recently, show you the pipeline for this company, and then we'll talk about the financials. So let's get started with this part first. And this is their latest earnings report that they've released. You can find this type of information if you go to the company's website. So as you can see, April 25th is when they reported. So we're just going to go over some of the things that they've talked about. So for example, when it comes to Q1, which is what they reported, the sales, so the worldwide sales was $15.8 billion. That's up about 9%, which is quite nice. Full year sales, okay, you can see here 2022, 2023 and 2024 so far where we are. So 2022, the company has reported over closer to $60 billion, and then $61 billion in 2023, and 2024 right now basically we expected, okay, 63.1 to 64.3. So they're expecting at least 5 to 7% from where we are now, which is quite nice. So they're expecting 5 to 7%, which is very good for the company. When it comes to EPS, we're looking about $2.07. That's up about 48%. Now, that is not organic growth, meaning they have acquired other businesses, and I'll show you that. Okay, so they've acquired a couple of companies that basically in 2023 and 2022. And this is not the only company that they've acquired. There's another 2 or 3 companies, well, 2 more companies that they've acquired in the last couple of years. So the company reports basically basically their segments include vaccines, infection disease, and oncology. Those are the 3 main sections or segments of their business, and within that they have a pipeline of basically drugs that they currently doing in different phases, which we'll look at in a second. Of course, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to us, but of course, until they get to like the 2nd or the 3rd phase, is actually, we just wait and see what happens with it. Now, this is one of the, so looking at in terms of the 2 main segments of the business. So we've already seen 15.8 that they've reported. So that we've got the human health and we got the animal health, which is quite nice to see. Actually, they do also the animal health side of things, and both of them are growing. So this is about just almost flat 1% for the year. And then of course, if you take into consideration the exchange rate, whatever, then it's about 4% growth. This one is about 10%. If you take into consideration currency impact and so on, it's about 13%. Now, looking at it in terms of drugs, this company has construed is the main one. This is their winning basically drug. So for Q1 of 2022, they reported $4.8 billion. That was 27% up. In one on 2023, 5.8, 24% up. And then now, as you can see here in Q1 of 2024, we're looking about 6.9, 24% growth basically. So it is actually nicely growing when it comes to Keytruda. Now Keytruda is one of the drugs, I think a few years down the line they're going to run out basically the patent, which then means other companies can then start producing this drug. So again, that's a little bit of danger. However, this is one of the things that I like about this company. They're not just relying on this basically main drug. They've got another 3 that are basically in here that are growing every single year. So about 20%, 8%, 7%. This one 77%, 5%, 10%. Okay, it's very small in terms of revenue side of things, but it basically helps. Okay, so you're not just focusing on just one single drug. And they have another one here which is basically also quite good. Okay, 5.8 was just up 60% in Q1 of 2022. 2023 was up 43% or to $2 billion. And then in Q1 of 2024, you can see 2.2 or $17 billion. Sorry, $2.2 billion or about 17% up. So as you can see, they've got different types of basically drugs. And when it comes to animal health, it is also growing as well. It's not as fast as, of course, the other drugs that they've got, but this one is definitely growing as well. And then you've got a little bit more information about the company as you go along. One thing I want to mention is this part here. Okay, this is one of the drugs, basically one of the companies they acquired recently had this drug basically, and they are now being approved by the FDA approval basically for this drug, which is used for something to do with high blood pressure. So yeah, so they've basically got other drugs that are in the pipeline. And these are the companies. So the recent one that they've acquired, and Herbal Therapeutics, basically was about 680 million, which wasn't a lot. Okay, so they've talked about here, if you're interested in basically what the company does and what it will bring to the company and so on in terms of earnings per share and so on. So in 2024, you can see that is basically fiscal year of 20 financials outlook issue on February. Basically, it will be about it will bring 0.26 per share basically. Now there's others they've actually included in the pipeline. This is another one that they've actually included. This one I think was $10.8 billion that they've actually paid for. This one here I think was about $11 billion, $11.5 billion. Okay, and you can see what will be added, how it will help the company. So right now the company is not only growing organically, but they're also acquiring other businesses, which is genuinely, I really like that. Okay, and top of that, they've got their pipeline of drugs. So as you can see here, they've got 30 plus in phase 3, which is after phase 3 there's nothing more. After that it just goes under review. So there's 10 right now under review, and once that's done, basically then they can sell that drug and so on. So there's a lot about this company that's going on at the moment. Again, I can't tell you any of these drugs. The only one that I know is this oncology, which is basically Keytruda, which is used for basically for cancer treatment and so on. Now let's have a look at the financials of the business, and then we'll stop the video. Right. So as you know, it's a healthcare company. Keytruda is the main thing. Pipeline is great. Impressive financial performance, which you will see in a second. So that's my investment theme for this company. And as you can see, currently trading $130 per share, EPS $8.64. 330 billion market cap. It has a wide economic moat. Beta is very, very low, which is quite good. And this is what I love about pharmaceutical companies. Their beta is very low, which means it balances. If you got high beta companies, basically balances your portfolio, which is nice to have. So in terms of regards with P, right now we're looking about 14, forward P about 15, 5-year average about 15, 14.5. So it's around where it's basically been in the last years, and for the last 5 years. And if you look at also the sector, about 14.6 is basically what we're looking at right now, and the S&P 500 is about 25, so it seems slightly cheaper. Price to free cash flow right now is about 30, and in terms of dividend, you will get $3 or 2.3% in terms of dividend yield. Payout ratio 136. So now this is something that I was a bit slightly concerned initially, but when you look at the free cash flow for this business and when you look at basically the outlook, I don't have any concerns about that. And in fact, if you look at it, it was in 2023, it was 193 and then 136. But look at the next year, next 12 months is about 35, which is way below what we expected. And even when you look at the free cash flow payout ratio, it's about 40, which is absolutely fine and nothing to worry about when it comes to that. So there you have it. The latest increase is about 5%, 5.5%, which is quite nice. The 5-year growth rate of 9%, 12 years of increase in that dividend. Safety 99%, 11 billions of free cash flow. Free cash flow yield of basically 3.4. Free cash flow margin of 9%, which is quite nice. Profit margin is about 3%, 8% in terms of operating margin. Return on equity about 5%. Return on invested capital about 10%. And return on, total return in the last 10 years, we're looking about 10%, 11% almost. Return on invested capital 9%. So this is per annum, don't forget that, and that includes dividends as well as price appreciation. Revenue growth in the last 5 years, we're looking about 11.5%. EPS growth, we're looking for last 5 years, we're also looking at about 11%. Current ratio is above 1, which means the company has enough current liability assets to cover their liabilities. Next year, they're expecting the earnings to grow about 16%. Then after that, 66%. So because of all the buys that all the companies they've included in their portfolio, that's probably what's happening here. But that will stop sooner or later. So if I just quickly go back to Seeking Alpha to show you what the company has reported, or what the analysts are expecting moving forward. So this year, that's why it's basically they're expecting 472% in terms of growth side of things, and basically year-over-year growth. But next following year is about 14%. So it goes back to basically where it's been, and revenue is almost exactly the same as well. So revenue is basically this year is about 6.6, but EPS is growing a lot. It's because of all the exchanges that they've done over the last whatever years. We've seen already current share price of 130. According to Morningstar, it's fairly valued right now. 120 is basically what they expected. So $10 difference. According to Wall Street, though, they've always been bullish on this company. $278 per share is where they think the price should be. Right now, that is 53% undervalued based on what they've said. Target price for tip rank is 135. That's about 4-5% upside from where we are, and it's a strong buy from them. Seeking Alpha, more or less the same, $141, 10% upside from where we are. It's a buy. Sharia compliance side of things, absolutely no issues, and they are buying back their own shares, which is quite nice. Now, looking at the valuation side of things, so we've got the Morningstar valuation, Seeking Alpha, Wall Street, as well as multiples valuation model that I've used, and dividend discount model that I've used, that gives us $168 per share. Currently it's about 130. If you think that's maybe too unrealistic for this company, then basically you might want to say, okay, do you know what, for the next 10 years, 5 years, I'm going to invest in this company. I want at least a 15% discount right now, or basically profit margin of safety, that will be $143 per share. Even if you said, I don't know, because remember this is 30, so you're going to have to play with that to actually figure out what you want. So for me, what am I going to do moving forward? So let's go back here, and I'm going to share with you guys how many shares I own of this company. 27 shares. I wish I bought more. I've been buying this company since God knows how many years. I'm 82% up right now, or £1,270, which is one of my favorite, not favorite only, but one of my best performing stocks. So moving forward, the financials look good, the pipeline looks good, everything basically ticks, and I'm gonna hold on to it for now. If it comes back down maybe another 10-15% or so, then I potentially might start basically adding to it. I just want to get to at least the 30 to 40 shares in the next few years, because as you can see here now, I'm up quite a bit. And I don't want to take anything off the table, because I do think the company will continue to grow in terms of price wise, in terms of earnings and so on. So yeah, if it comes back down a little bit, then maybe 10-15% drop in the next year, even 2 years, even 3 years from now on. As long as the fees is still the same, they have a good pipeline, the financials look good, and the valuations actually looks good, then I'm more than happy to start nibbling and adding a little bit more. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone. And like I've always said to you guys, do your own research to find out a bit more information about these companies. Don't just rely on this. But based on everything that I've seen today in terms of what they reported, it really looks nice to me. There's nothing that basically I've seen so far in this pipeline of product that they have, what they've reported, that worried me moving forward, inshallah. So I'm going to hold on to it. And final thing I want to show you is basically what they've reported, and we've already seen that, but you can see here the basically year over year what they've reported. as well, in terms of different segments. So you've got pharmaceutical side of things, you've got the animal health, which is basically what we've seen earlier, and you can see basically you can pause the video and have a look at the different drugs that the company has and then how it actually performed. Anyway, I'm going to stop the video here. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu Alaikum.